Mom said Santa forgot us again, the boy told the lonely billionaire at the bus stop on Christmas. Mom said Santa forgot us again. The boy's voice was small, almost swallowed by the cold December air, but the sentence carried a weight that stopped time itself. Snow rested on the cracked sidewalk, untouched and quiet, while a lonely bus stop light flickered like it was struggling to stay awake. The boy stood there in a thin jacket, hands shoved deep into his pockets, eyes fixed on the ground as if he had learned not to expect answers from the sky. A few feet away, a man wrapped in a tailored coat worth more than the boy's entire life listened without meaning to, and in that moment, his world shifted. If you believe that kindness still matters, if you believe one moment can change two lives forever, please take a second to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. The man at the bus stop was known to the world by another name. Newspapers called him a genius, investors called him untouchable, and business magazines printed his face under headlines about billions earned before breakfast. Yet here, in the dim glow of a city bus stop on Christmas Eve, he was simply a man waiting. Not for a bus, but for the night to pass. His driver had been sent away hours earlier because going home felt unbearable. A penthouse filled with silence was far colder than the winter air. He hadn't planned to stop there. He never planned anything that wasn't scheduled months in advance. But something had pulled him out of the car earlier, made him walk these streets like a stranger in his own city. Maybe it was the anniversary of a house fire long buried in memory. Maybe it was the echo of a childhood spent watching other families through frosted windows. Whatever it was, it led him to that bus stop, and to the boy. The child couldn't have been more than 8. His shoes were worn, soles thinning at the edges, and his backpack was held together by hope and fraying threads. Behind him stood a woman, his mother, exhaustion written into every line of her face. She tried to smile for him, the way parents do when they're running out of strength but refuse to let their children see it. Her eyes flicked toward the approaching bus route sign, calculating time, distance, and energy she no longer had. The billionaire pretended to check his phone, though he hadn't received a personal message in years that wasn't filtered through assistants and lawyers. The boy's words echoed again in his head. Santa forgot us again. It wasn't said with anger. It was said with acceptance. That was what hurt the most. The man remembered saying something similar once. Not about Santa, but about his father. He remembered the cold kitchen, the empty chair, the way disappointment could become normal if it stayed long enough. Back then, he had promised himself that when he grew up, he would never be powerless again. And he hadn't been. But power, he had learned too late, could not keep loneliness away. The bus was late. The wind cut sharper. The mother wrapped her arm around the boy, rubbing his shoulder to keep him warm. She whispered something to him, probably another gentle lie about how tomorrow would be better, how maybe Santa was just busy. The billionaire watched, feeling something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. He had bought companies on impulse, changed markets with a signature, but he had never learned how to step into a moment like this. Christmas Eve memories rushed back uninvited. A small apartment. A mother working double shifts. A tree made from construction paper taped to a wall. He remembered pretending not to care when nothing was under it, pretending that being forgotten didn't hurt. He had survived that boyhood, but he had never healed from it. The bus stop sign buzzed. Time felt suspended. He realized then that this wasn't an accident. Life had placed him here, stripped of titles, stripped of excuses. Just a man with too much and a child with too little sharing the same cold air. When the bus finally appeared in the distance, its headlights cutting through the snow, panic flickered across the mother's face. She was already calculating the ride home, the empty fridge, the way she would stretch leftovers into Christmas dinner. The boy looked up once more at the sky, as if checking whether miracles still knew his address. Something broke inside the billionaire. Not loudly, not dramatically, but cleanly, like ice giving way. He didn't approach them right away. He stood there, fighting the instinct to retreat behind money, behind charity checks written by other people in his name. This had to be different. This had to be real. As the bus doors opened and warm air rushed out, the moment threatened to end. The boy stepped forward, ready to climb into another day that would ask too much of him. And that's when the billionaire moved, heart pounding like it had during his first big deal, except this time the risk wasn't financial. It was human. He didn't announce who he was. He didn't need to. What mattered was the look in his eyes, something soft, something honest, something that said he saw them. The mother hesitated, protective instinct flaring, but something about him felt safe, like someone who understood what it meant to lose. Christmas miracles don't always come wrapped in lights and music. Sometimes they come quietly, at a bus stop no one remembers, in the form of choices made when no one is watching. The billionaire made one then, a decision that would ripple far beyond that night. The bus pulled away eventually, leaving behind fresh tracks in the snow and a silence that felt different now, lighter, hopeful. The man stood alone again, but for the first time in years, he didn't feel empty. He felt awake. That night changed him, not because of what he gave, but because of what he finally allowed himself to feel. He went home to his towering glass apartment and turned off the lights. For once, the darkness didn't scare him. He slept deeply, dreaming not of numbers or contracts, but of a boy's voice and a sentence that had rewritten his heart. Christmas morning arrived quietly in that small apartment across town. The boy woke up expecting nothing, because expecting nothing hurt less. But the room looked different. The air felt warmer. His mother stood frozen in the doorway, hand over her mouth, tears streaming freely as years of silent prayers finally found their answer. The boy didn't understand it all. He only knew that Santa hadn't forgotten him after all. Or maybe, he thought, Santa just needed help from someone who remembered what it felt like to be small and unseen. Across the city, the billionaire watched the sunrise from his window, holding a cup of coffee gone cold. He felt something new settle into his bones, not loneliness, not regret, but purpose. For the first time, his wealth felt like a tool, not a shield. And he knew this would not be the last time he listened when someone spoke softly. Before this story ends, if it has touched even a small part of your heart, please take a moment to comment below. Tell us where you're watching from or share a thought about kindness. You never know who might need to read it. Years later, people would talk about his philanthropy, about the foundations and scholarships, the shelters and schools. But none of them would know the real beginning. It didn't start in a boardroom or a gala. It started at a forgotten bus stop, with a boy who believed Santa had given up on him, and a man who finally realized that miracles often begin the moment we choose not to walk away. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that compassion can change lives, please like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread hope to someone who might be waiting at their own bus stop tonight, believing they've been forgotten, when they haven't.